Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are making a calculated move with tight end Darren Waller, and now that the contract details are out, we can finally see the depth of the gamble they're taking for the 2025 season. A one-year deal worth up to $5 million doesn't scream blockbuster, but when you dive deeper, it tells a story of cautious optimism. The Dolphins aren't handing Waller a blank check. They're putting the ball in his court. With a $2 million base salary and $3 million in incentives, it's clear that Miami is interested but not sold. This isn't a savior deal, it's a show-me deal. And that distinction matters. Miami just traded away Jonnu Smith, a move that turned heads on its own, and then doubled down by snagging Waller, a guy who was retired last year and comes with injury history and question marks. But also potential. That's what this move is about: upside. It's about risk versus reward. Miami's front office is walking a tightrope here, and they know it. Waller hasn't played a snap in over a year. He's battled injuries for the better part of the last 3 seasons and wasn't exactly lighting up defenses in New York before stepping away from the game. So why take the risk? Because when Darren Waller is healthy, locked in, and on the field, he's a matchup nightmare. At his best, he's a top 5 tight end in the league. 6'6", athletic, rangy, and a serious problem for linebackers and safeties. That's the version Miami's betting on, or at least hoping for. But they're not doing it blindly. The contract structure proves they're protecting themselves. With only $2 million committed and the rest hinging on performance, it's a low-cost, high-upside maneuver. If Waller flames out, they can walk away. If he balls out, they gladly pay him more. That's the beauty of incentive-heavy contracts. They align the player's motivation with the team's success. Waller will have every reason to show up to training camp in peak condition, fight for a roster spot, and earn his reps. The Dolphins won't be handing anything to him. He'll have to prove he belongs in that crowded Miami offense, which already features stars like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Raheem Mostert. The tight end room isn't empty either. Miami's scheme under Mike McDaniel doesn't exactly funnel a ton of volume toward the tight end position. So Waller not only has to stay healthy and earn his spot, he has to stand out in an offense that isn't built around him. That's a tall order for anyone, let alone a player trying to unretire and reclaim his form. Let's not forget what made Waller special in the first place. During his peak years with the Raiders, he was Derek Carr's go-to target, pulling down 197 catches for 2,341 yards and 12 touchdowns between 2019 and 2020. Those are wide receiver numbers, and they earned him a Pro Bowl nod and league-wide respect. He was electric, dominant, and looked like he'd be a fixture in Las Vegas for years. But then the injuries started piling up: ankle, hamstring, knee. Inconsistent usage and coaching changes didn't help either. By the time he got to the Giants, he was more of a name than a weapon. Still, the flashes were there. You don't just forget how to be 6 feet 6 inches and run a 4.46. You don't lose elite traits. You lose confidence, rhythm, and opportunity. The Dolphins, it seems, are banking on giving him all 3 again. Now, from a cap standpoint, the math checks out. Waller's $2 million base is only about $1 million more than the 51st player on Miami's current salary cap. In NFL terms, that's pennies. This isn't a signing that forces you to rework deals or cut key contributors. It's the kind of signing that smart teams make to bolster depth without sacrificing flexibility. If Waller sticks and performs, he'll replace someone with much less upside. If he doesn't, no harm, no foul. The Dolphins are essentially renting Waller with an option to buy, and he'll have to earn every dollar past the initial $2 million. That kind of financial structure says a lot about how Miami sees this signing: a lottery ticket, not a cornerstone. One unanswered question remains: is that $2 million guaranteed? At this point, no confirmation has surfaced, but signs point to no. Guaranteeing money to a player who didn't play last season is risky business, and Miami is already taking a calculated risk just by making the deal. Guaranteeing any of it would undercut the very protection the incentives are supposed to provide. So unless something changes before week 1, expect Waller to be on what amounts to a tryout deal. Show up, earn your spot, produce, get paid. That puts the pressure squarely on him, but it also gives him something to prove. For a veteran coming off a retirement, that fire might be exactly what he needs. But here's where it gets complicated. If Waller does earn the full $5 million, something unusual will have had to happen. Either he blows the doors off expectations, becoming a central figure in the offense, or something goes wrong with Miami's core weapons. Think about it: if Hill or Waddle go down, suddenly the Dolphins need Waller in a big way. That scenario would be bad news overall, but Waller could thrive in the aftermath. On the flip side, if he earns that full bonus without injury attrition, it means Miami unlocked a role for him that nobody saw coming. That would be a testament to Waller's work ethic, McDaniel's ingenuity, and the team's willingness to adapt. Either way, paying out all $5 million would mean the Dolphins got value, just maybe not in the way they initially envisioned. For Dolphins fans, this is a storyline worth watching throughout camp and the preseason. Waller's presence adds intrigue to a team already loaded with offensive firepower. He's a former star with something to prove, joining a roster trying to take the next step in the AFC. Miami has its eyes on a deep playoff run in 2025, and every addition is scrutinized through that lens. Can Waller be the guy who tips the scales in key moments? Can he become the safety blanket for Tua Tagovailoa when plays break down? Or is this just a summer headline that fizzles out by week 1? The contract is set up to answer those questions in real time. Until then, Waller will have to prove he belongs and earn every single dollar of that $5 million deal. What's fascinating about this move is how it reflects the broader strategy Miami is embracing this offseason. They're hunting for value, veterans with pedigree, and something to prove, signed to team-friendly deals that could blossom if everything breaks right. Waller fits that mold perfectly. He's a high-reward play at a low cost, the kind of signing that can look genius or irrelevant based on just a few games. Miami isn't chasing stars. They're building depth and betting on the right veterans to rise. Waller doesn't need to be 2020 Darren Waller to make this work. He just needs to be healthy, engaged, and ready. If he gives them even a fraction of that Pro Bowl version, he'll be worth every penny. If not, well, the contract structure makes it easy to say goodbye. Ultimately, the Dolphins' decision to bring in Darren Waller is about one thing: calculated opportunity. This isn't desperation. It's not reckless. It's shrewd roster management in a league that's all about margins. Miami sees Waller not as a savior, but as a bonus, a potentials factor that could emerge if the stars align. He won't make or break their season, but he might win them a game or two when it counts. And that's the difference between making the playoffs and making noise in them. For Waller, this is the comeback trail. For Miami, it's just smart football. The Dolphins took a chance. Now it's up to Waller to prove it was one worth taking. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments what's your take on the Fins this week. There's a buzz echoing through the NFL world today, and it's not just coming from the South Beach waves or the bustling streets of Miami. It's the sound of a rumor that could shake up the AFC East in a big way. Word has it that DALVIN Cook, the electric four-time Pro Bowler and former Vikings standout, was spotted landing in Miami earlier this morning, fueling speculation that he's set to sign a one-year deal with the Miami Dolphins. Now, while nothing has been made official, yet the sighting alone has fans and insiders alike connecting the dots. With the Dolphins looking to add more firepower to an already explosive offense, and Cook still on the hunt for the perfect landing spot to reignite his career, the timing feels almost too perfect to ignore. Miami may have just pulled off one of the offseason's most unexpected moves. DALVIN Cook's potential arrival in Miami raises more than a few eyebrows. This is a team already loaded with speed, featuring stars like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle stretching the field. So why bring in another playmaker, and why now one-word balance? Last season, the Dolphins leaned heavily on the passing game, and while Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane flashed brilliance in the backfield, durability concerns have loomed large. Cook offers not just experience, but also a dynamic ability to catch out of the backfield and create mismatches in space. If this deal goes through, it could mean that Mike McDaniel is gearing up to shift toward a more balanced offensive identity, one that keeps defenses guessing and gives quarterback Tua Tagovailoa the support he needs to stay healthy and efficient. Cook's veteran presence might be exactly what this roster needs heading into a critical season. And let's not forget the emotional connection here. DALVIN Cook isn't just any free agent. He's a Miami native. Born and raised in Florida, the idea of returning home to play in front of friends and family could carry a weight that statistics alone can't measure. Miami has always had a magnetic pull for players looking for a fresh start in a familiar setting, and Cook could be the latest example of that trend. Fans have already started buzzing on social media with hashtags like hashtag #CookToThe305 and hashtag DolphinDalvin trending across Twitter and Instagram. It's a homecoming narrative that writes itself. Local hero returns to save the day, a chance at redemption under the sunny skies of South Beach. If Cook really is signing that one-year deal, it could mark the beginning of a beautiful, if slightly risky football romance. From a strategic standpoint, the move makes more sense than it might initially appear. The AFC East is shaping up to be a brutal battleground in 2025, with the Jets reloading, the Bills still a powerhouse, and the Patriots trying to claw their way back to relevance. The Dolphins can't afford to be one-dimensional, and they certainly can't afford to let their season hinge solely on Tua's health or the reliability of younger backs. Dalvin Cook brings a veteran mindset, playoff experience, and the kind of football IQ that doesn't show up on spreadsheets. If the deal is indeed for just 1 year, it's a classic low-risk, high-reward scenario. Either Cook returns to form and becomes a major contributor, or he gives Miami valuable depth without locking them into long-term obligations. In today's NFL, that kind of flexibility is golden. There's also the money factor. Rumors swirling around the league suggest that Cook's market value has dipped from its peak, possibly due to his age and injury history. That could make this one-year contract extremely team-friendly, especially for a franchise like Miami that's already invested heavily in key positions. If the front office managed to snag Cook on a deal below market value, this could go down as one of the savviest moves of the offseason. Imagine a scenario where Dalvin Cook, with something to prove and no long-term commitments weighing him down, goes out and posts a 1,200-yard season with double-digit touchdowns. That's the kind of upside that can turn a good team into a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And judging by the energy around this rumor, the Dolphins clearly believe that kind of upside is still in play. Of course, not everyone is sold. There are plenty of voices in the media warning that Cook might not be the same player he once was. After all, the 2023 season with the Jets was a disappointment, to put it mildly. Cook struggled to find his rhythm, rarely looked explosive, and seemed to fall out of favor quickly. But context matters. The Jets' offensive line was in shambles, the quarterback situation was unstable, and Cook never seemed to be fully integrated into the system. In Miami, he'd be entering a much more stable environment with a clear offensive vision and a head coach known for maximizing skill players. Maybe all Cook needs is a new opportunity, a clean slate, and a team that believes in what he still brings to the table. And if that team is the Dolphins, well, things could get real interesting real fast. Let's also consider what this means for the rest of the Dolphins' backfield. Mostert, Chain, and even Jeff Wilson Jr. have all had their moments in Miami's offense. But adding Cook to that mix could force a reshuffling of roles or even a surprise roster move down the line. Competition breeds excellence, as the saying goes, but it also creates pressure. If Cook signs and performs well in camp, it might push one of the younger backs down the depth chart or off the roster entirely. That kind of shakeup isn't necessarily a bad thing, though. Depth at running back is one of the most valuable currencies in today's NFL, especially in a 17-game season. With injuries inevitable, having multiple capable starters could be the difference between a playoff berth and another year on the outside looking in. Cook could be the insurance policy Miami didn't know it needed. The timing of this possible signing also can't be ignored. Training camp is just around the corner, and teams are finalizing rosters, tweaking playbooks, and figuring out who fits where. For Cook to show up in Miami now suggests urgency on both sides. Maybe Cook's market didn't materialize the way he hoped, and maybe the Dolphins saw a sudden opportunity to swoop in. Either way, if this deal happens, it could accelerate the team's preseason preparation and give Cook a full ramp-up into the regular season. He'd have just enough time to learn the playbook, build chemistry with the offense, and get his legs back under him. And for a veteran like Cook, that might be all he needs. A few weeks under the Miami sun, and he could be back to breaking tackles and slicing through defenses like the Cook of old. The stage is set. Then there's the bigger picture. What message does this move send to the rest of the league? If the Dolphins do lock in Dalvin Cook, it's a signal that they're going all in. No more tentative steps or rebuilding talk. This would be a clear declaration that Miami intends to compete with the big boys in the AFC, to challenge Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, and anyone else standing in their way. It's a winnow mentality that says, we're not just here to make the playoffs. We're here to win. And for fans who've waited decades for a return to glory, that's music to their ears. Dalvin Cook may not be the final piece of the puzzle, but he could be the one that makes all the other pieces fit just a little better. Sometimes it only takes one spark to ignite something special. Maybe Cook is that spark. So as the sun sets over the Miami skyline and speculation continues to swirl, one thing is clear. Something's happening in South Beach. Whether it's a finalized contract or just a conversation that's closer than we thought, Dalvin Cook's presence in Miami is no coincidence. Fans, media, and rival teams are watching closely, waiting for confirmation for that watch-style tweet that makes it official. Until then, the rumor mill keeps churning and the excitement keeps building. If Cook does end up wearing aqua and orange this season, we'll look back at this moment as the beginning of a new chapter. One filled with potential hope and maybe, just maybe, a shot at something much bigger. The Dolphins are making moves. Whether it's genius or gamble, we're about to find out. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.